Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Sexy Business Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Lewd Neko, and joining me is Spooky Dangerous.
I'm just like every other high school student.
And today we are going to be talking a little bit about the Monster Prom series. Specifically, we're going to be looking at some characters from the original game in the series, Monster Prom, and the most recent one, Monster Con. Now, Spooky has not played this series, but I have played it pretty extensively, pretty much since it came out. For those unfamiliar with the series, it's unique little spin on the visual novel is that it is a multiplayer dating sim. So it has very traditional dating sim mechanics where it is a stat grinder to an extent and you make little choices each round. But the fun part was that you could play with up to three other players, both locally and online. And then you can kind of make dating competitive. So you can actually try to cuck your friends.
Huge.
uh, and this game originally just started as Monster Prom, which I think came out around like 2018-ish or so. I remember playing a lot of it in undergrad, and it was an absolute hit. And they ended up doing a pretty big Kickstarter to basically do a series of little sequels that would follow after it, where each of them still have the very basic gameplay, but have like a little twist on it. So there was Monster Road Trip, which the twist on that one was that it was a more linear story where you're on a road trip. And then there was Monster Camp. I played a little bit of that one, and that one was just set at a summer camp. It had some new love interests. And the most recent one, Monster Con, just came out, I believe, a couple of weeks ago, and that one takes place at a convention. And this one had a couple of interesting mechanical changes, and then it had some very fun love interests added as well.
Now, this is kind of very much my wheelhouse. I do like that kind of high school kind of media, but also I really do like a lot of the character design and stuff like that. So, Neko had this really cool idea where we're going to run through the list of love interests from, is it Monster Prom and Monster Con, or is it all of them?
Yeah, I sent the first couple are going to be from Monster Prom. Monster Prom had a ton of love interests because
Mm-hmm.
it was a much bigger game, and then it also got a DLC. And then for Monster Con, there are two returning love interests, so we're only going to be talking about the four new ones from that game.
Okay, cool. Basically, we're going to put them all up on the screen. We're going to run through them. Neko is going to introduce them a little bit, tell us their name and measurements, and then I will kind of be um, making a guess as to like what the character is like, what their personality is like. Talk a little bit about their character design, maybe what kind of tropes or whatever they might fall into, and Neko is basically going to tell me if I get it right or not.
Yeah. To get you in the mindset, I feel like the best way to describe Monster Prom is that it's like people who liked Monster High too much as a kid grew up and then were like, we're gonna make this sexy, sexier.
Yeah, I think it's or like what's the not Bratz, but the actual doll line, which is very like Monster High
Yeah,
School as well. Is that what it's
yeah, that's
called?
good. It's literally called Monster High.
Okay, yeah. I had the exact same mental image in my head, but had the name wrong. All right, so I've loaded up my list in the top to bottom order that you sent me on Discord.
All right.
So we're going to be running through them in that order, and I apologize to people that have seen the visuals. It's not the sexiest work that we've put together, um, but it'll have to do. So we've got our first character. This is um, the classic varsity jacket, and what I'm guessing is a werewolf, if not more like a classic wolfman character. It's not clear
Y-
either.
yeah, yeah. So his name is Scott Howell. So he is in fact a werewolf, though it is definitely more in like the Wolfman sort of genre, where he spends, I think, most of the game just sort of in like the half wolf, half man form, very hairy sort of thing.
Yeah. It's kind of a classic um, 80s footballer fit, like especially with the shoes. Like he's got the high tops going. Very Marty McFly vibe actually, which is weird because he's like presenting as like really really jockey. His facial expression tells me that he's like really flirty and outgoing. I kind of the body language does as well, I guess.
Okay, so that's what you're going with.
Yeah, I think that's my vibe check.
Yeah, I think you got most of it. Like, I think his biggest things is I would describe him as a himbo. He's not the bully type of jock, where that's like kind of his twist on it. There's actually a group called the Wolf Pack, which are like kind of the reoccurring bully characters who show up a little bit in Monster Prom, and he's always the one being like, we shouldn't be fighting. But yeah, he's a little dumb but very sweet. He's also voiced by Aaron Hansen, if I remember correctly
Huge.
from Game Grumps.
Well, you might know him from Game Grumps. I'm old enough to know him from Ego
Of
Raptor.
Newgrounds animations. I watched those.
He showed up on my fucking Magic the Gathering thing the other day, and they're like, "This is Aaron Hansen." I'm like, "Who be that?" And then they posted the link to the stuff that he did. I'm like, "Wait, what the fuck?" I'd never seen his face before, but that's kind of sick. He's a pretty funny guy. So I imagine that this
Should we
character
also
plays
give them
pretty
a
funny.
quick, like, as we keep going, should we give them a smash or pass?
I smash. I think there's only like two that are going to be passes for me. I've already seen them all.
I'm gonna say pass, but that's because I am not a big fan of body hair.
That's fair. He looks like he hugged good, so
Okay,
that's
yeah,
the smash.
I would platonically hug, but
Yeah,
that would be it.
yeah. We need bro to be the bottom level of the pyramid for the cuddle puddle. All right, we're gonna move on to the next one,
All right.
which is our ghost girl
Yep. So
from
her name is
memory.
Polly Geist, and
Yes.
she is a ghost.
Okay. Great wordplay with the name. She's very cute. Her outfit is very popular girl. Um, and her expression gives me the kind of the vibe that she's maybe the sassy, bitchy kind of popular girl archetype, where she's like really
Yeah.
vain.
Ooh. You're almost there. So you
Yeah.
are right where she is kind of like a variant of the popular girl, though she's more of a party girl is kind of
Okay.
her whole
Yeah.
thing. She's very like sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Like that's kind of her gimmick is that nobody knows exactly how she died, so she keeps making like insane stories about like, oh yeah, I went on this crazy drug bender and got eaten by a shark.
I love that for her. She's great. She's an easy smash.
Yeah, I would smash. That outfit's cute.
Yeah, she's very cute. I think her design is intentionally very cutesy. Also, when you're creating characters for a game like this, like you really do need to have characters that just are waifu bait. And this feels like that was the intention behind the character.
Oh yeah.
Okay, next. This is very clearly a mermaid and or siren archetype. Very Ariel from the Little Mermaid with the long red hair. She does look like she has gills and proto fins. So I feel like they're kind of the dead giveaway.
Okay. Yeah, so you're right about that. She is a mermaid. Her name
Mhm.
is Miranda Vanderbilt.
Okay, and she is Vanderbilt like that. She gives me more of a nerdy shy girl kind of vibe with the body language. Like she's really studious and not particularly outgoing. I feel like I could be really
That's really
wrong though.
funny. Yeah, so her whole thing is I would almost describe her as being like Princess Bubblegum from Adventure Time, where
Okay.
she's like she's the cute princess, but she's also like a genocidal maniac. So she's
Oh,
very
okay.
intense in how she treats her servants, and she will not allow for any peasant uprisings.
Okay, I was really wrong. Maybe the body language is supposed to be more like prissy than reserved as I read it.
Yeah, I think she's just supposed to look pretty and kind of regal put
Yeah.
together.
Okay. I think I'm what 2 for 3 is not so bad. Let's hit the next one. So this is
I'll also
our.
smash.
This is our. Oh yeah. Okay. I think actually pass. On the mermaid girl. So this next one is a character from Arcane called Scar. It's our Bat Boy. The
Yeah.
design's very similar in the like face and kind of body presentation, so to say. But his outfit is like very clearly the nerd archetype with the like who really wears a bow tie to school. Honestly, fellas, hit the comment section if it's you, so I can bully you. Um, and then even has like long purple socks. Yeah, I think
Oh,
easy,
I didn't even notice
easy
those.
nerd, easy nerd archetype.
Yeah, so this is Liam de Lioncourt, and he is a vampire, and he's very close to nerd. He's more specifically a hipster, so he's even worse because he's a nerd that's smug about it. So his whole
Yeah,
thing is that he doesn't do mainstream stuff, and he's very pretentious about all of his, interests and things like that.
that's way worse. Bro
Absolute
is
pass.
pass, yeah.
I hate man buns, so that was like an instant like game ender.
Yeah. Alright. Coming up next is going to be our gay Mender, our demon guy. This feels more like the cocky jockey archetype, but this feels much more like a protagonist character than a love interest. Um, like a sci-fi kind of I don't know. This is kind of a more reserved look with the outfit, which is what like when you're designing a pantheon of characters, right? Usually the main character is supposed to be more bland, so that the other characters seem way more interesting by comparison. Because he's got kind of a muted color palette with everything that's going on. Despite his skin being red, a thing that could be very bright, he is still like really dark and muted. So it gives me the vibe that he's supposed to be the main character, and all the other characters are like super bright and colorful and playful to like bounce off him as contrast. So he might be like the main character's best friend, is the kind of vibe that I'm getting, and he gives you like dating advice or like you're chatting with him about how girls or whatever. I don't know. That's my hit.
So this is Damien LaVey. He is a demon. Fun fact about the Monster Prom series is there are protagonists that I don't have in this list. And they're basically just little color coded, generic sort of looking people. They do all have a monster theme. So, like, one of them is kind of a little Frankenstein girl. One of them is like a fire spirit. There's like a zombie sort of shadow spirit. But Damien is one of the love interests. He's actually one of the main ones in both Monster Prom and Monster Camp. And while he isn't quite a jock, he's more of the bad boy archetype. Like he's like basically a prince of hell, and so his whole thing is like stabbing people and setting things on fire and being extremely violent for all of the things. He actually has a secret ending that is basically about him wanting to fight the sun.
Based, but I want to fight the sun too. Maybe we could be besties. The shit
I
has
would
just been
smash.
too bright for too long.
It
I
might be my last smash, but
real. I think this is probably a pass from me. I think the design is just maybe a bit too bland for what I'm trying to do, but also like I've not been subjected to his personality, which usually with men, when you get subjected to their personality, just makes things worse, which isn't very encouraging for this particular sentiment. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So this is our muscle mommy archetype for sure. I'm assuming like maybe basketball team or some other physical activity. I'm assuming this is also a demon. They've got like the death kind of motif with the outfit, which works really well, but it is very specifically modeled to be fitness gear, which I think is kind of telling more of the acrobatic nature of their activities, which is interesting because it's like Scott Howell, our first character we looked at, is like very clearly football coded because he's got the varsity jacket and stuff like that. Whereas this is much more like a gymnastics or no, gymnastics is more of a leotard, but like that kind of non-team sport, unless if it's basketball. But basketball is supposed to have like the long shirt thing, which he doesn't have.
I probably am not going to be able to guess whatever the activity is, but it's definitely like sporty girl thing, but like incredibly cocky. So she must be like really good at whatever the sport is that she does. Maybe wrestling. I don't know.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think you pretty much got her. So, her name is Dahlia Aquino. She is another demon, but she's just a blue demon. And I don't remember if they actually state like what sports team she's on, but she is extremely cocky, aggressive, and competitive. So she's one of the side love interests in Monster Prom, but she became a main one in Monster Camp. And literally her entire thing is that she hates Damien and is constantly fighting him. So
Based.
basically, you see them in a lot of interactions together, just like getting into random bullshit all the time. Yeah, like basically her personality trait is wants to fight Damien.
Hmm. She looks like she slings the strap good, so that's an easy smash for me.
Yeah, definitely smash.
Okay. Next is our Medusa mommy. So is this actually a student or is this a teacher?
So they're all students, and that's kind of like the joke, is because like they're all adults, for obvious reasons, because there's like sex
Yeah.
implications and whatnot. But like the whole joke is that it does not make sense why all of these people are at high school. It's just like, yeah, we're at high school because it's a trope.
Yeah, okay. Based. I respect it. I actually really like the Medusa design. Medusa's a really, really interesting character to me in the way that she is portrayed modernly, because there's a lot of different ways to style the hair to communicate how that character works. And this is definitely much more of a man eater style archetype where she has the eye covering bang, which is usually a shy character archetype, but her expression plays against that. Like she's really fierce and cruel in both the pose and the expression, which makes me think that she's very much a like takes no shit kind of character. And the outfit is kind of um, like underneath is a dress, which is very like regal and formal, and I'm out to look impressive. But then has the blazer over the top, which is very like I had to be at work today for the 9 to 5, which makes me think she's like a corporate kind of styled way, and she talks and delivers. She's like very very formal in everything.
Hell yeah. You pretty much have it. So this is Vera Oberlin. She is a Gorgon or a Medusa. She was my favorite from Monster Prom, and she is exactly that. I would describe her as gaslight gatekeep girl boss is sort of
Hell
her
yeah.
thing, where she's like CEO type, independent woman who doesn't need no man and will possibly kill them for money. She's like very cunning. She's like very Slytherin coded in a way for like,
Yep.
That's her whole thing, is she likes money and power and being smarter than everyone.
I would let her fix me.
Yeah, no, she could spit on me and I'd say thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is
Hard smash.
yeah, I agree, hard smash, but also probably like my first draft pick. Uh, if we're picking characters. Yeah, she might be my easy favorite of the lot when I just kind of quickly browse through it. Okay, let's go to the next one. Which is, and I remember his name because it's so fucking silly. This is Calculester Hewlett Packard. Which I just thought was so fucking funny. But is just kind of the goofy robot guy. I think this is just the trope of I am doing my best to be human. Which I think plays better if you're doing like a 2B archetype. Um, there's a criticism of media. You know, like how they have the Bechdel test, where like this is a criticism of how women are represented in media. It's a similar thing. It's called Born Sexy Yesterday, where
Yeah.
the woman character is kind of created. She's so naive. She doesn't know anything about the world, and then the male character kind of shows up and is able to take advantage of her because she doesn't really know anything about the world. That's normally what this kind of character is supposed to be when portrayed as a romantic interest. And because this is a male representation of what I think that would be, makes me think that it's very different. I think this is more like a goofy comedic relief kind of character, rather than played as a like sexy man or like a disaster princess archetype.
Yeah, I would say he's probably like the least like sexualized out of all of the like love interests in the game, where basically you're kind of right where he is that trope of like born sexy yesterday, but he's just very optimistic and like upbeat and is like thinks life is beautiful. I think he has some plot lines about dealing with like robot racism.
Huge.
And another fun thing is he is voiced by Jacksepticeye, which is pretty funny.
Also huge. Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, but he's very wholesome. He's like a wholesome, cute little robot guy.
Okay. Unfortunately, it is a pass from me because I respect the sign that says "Do not fist the android girls," and Calculus
It'd
is
be
no
a pass
exception.
for me.
Yeah.
I only like the more human-looking robots.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much. I agree. Okay, so next we have I think this is more of a shy girl archetype, but I think it's much more of more like Raven from Teen Titans, where it's like I am scary and therefore I'm keeping my distance. However, the character design I think plays against that archetype because like the abyssal horror version of a character, right, plays more into what Raven from Teen Titans is trying to do. But this character's expression looks a little bit more sassy, maybe a little bit more sinister. So maybe this is more like the Yandere side character that has a crush on you, but is like trying to play it chill and keep it together, kind of a thing. I think the design goes very well for like manic pixie dream princess kind of vibe. How am I doing so far?
I mean, I would say like Manic Pixie Dream Girl is like maybe she's kind of in that realm. So this is Zoe. She is an eldritch being. She's like kind of modeled off of like Cthulhu. And she actually is like one of my favorites. So she was introduced in the DLC, and she has a little plot line that is very much like a trans allegory, where she talks about how like she used to be known as Zigord, who was this like huge eldritch being that was worshipped by a cult and constantly had sacrifices. And then she basically realized one day that she was really lonely and she didn't like this, and she just decided to be a high school girl for the rest of her life. And so she has this plot line about telling her cult, like, hey, I don't want sacrifices and I don't want to be called that anymore. I'm just Zoe now. And she's actually like a fandom nerd. So that was sort of her big thing, is she's like the kind of like squee, ooh, ooh, oh my gosh,
man.
my
Is she
ship.
a fucking Fujoshi?
I mean, yeah, kind of.
I nearly clocked that, honestly, but I went with a more Yandere thing because I think her facial expression is a bit more sinister.
Yeah, it's like she basically wrote this fan fiction called Liam Prom that's about the character Liam dating a bunch of different versions of himself, so kind of like a Onceler reference there. And she was one of the ones that was brought back for MonsterCon for obvious reasons.
Yeah, okay. She's an easy smash. I think she's very cute.
Yeah, she's got tentacles, and they did actually produce a body pillow of her. It was a limited run.
Hell yeah. Editor, throw that up. I'm not going to do that. But it's a funny joke to make from time to time. Yeah, she's probably my second. I don't know why both of the characters that I want to boink the most have the wiggly hair, but that's just kind of how it's gone, I guess.
That's your fetish now.
Yeah. Going onto the N-Hente tags and being like wiggly hair. Alright, next we have... It's more like a conquistador kind of vibe. The weapons, they're like pointy knuckle dusters type thing on their hands. I wish I could see the other side of it to get a bit more of an informed thing. But the actual outfit itself is a little bit more like... an assassin or a vampire hunter. I think this is actually supposed to be a vampire hunter archetype. We've got a sword on the hilt, but a coin purse on the other hip, which is maybe more like a thief in design. But the boots is very Van Helsing and like a conquistador in timing. So I think this is the non-monster human character that's infiltrated the high school to try and kill all the monsters, or maybe like one specific monster in particular. But even the main character is a monster, right? So
Yeah.
this has to be some kind of yandere vibe also if you're the one dating this character.
Yeah, so this is Aravi. So she was a side character in Monster Prom, and she is a half human, half monster, but like she's also like an RPG sort of monster hunter. So she mostly just causes sort of chaos. She's like an antagonist in the first one. And then she got upgraded to being a love interest in Monster Camp, where she's actually been cursed. And so she has this little sidekick named Hex who is like constantly with her all the time. She's also like a bit of a hothead, but she's pretty harmless. And she has a little bit of a tsundere type in there, where she's usually like very gruff and like, I just want to stab things. But she has some like cuter, softer moments too.
Okay. Yeah, I can dig it. As I am comfortably not a monster creature, I can say smash without fearing for my life.
Pass.
Yeah. I think that's fair. Okay, our next one is the gelatinous slime type character. This is very much more like the airheaded surfer bird. Actually, there's a character from Ruby Gilman, the uncle, where in the Ruby Gilman lore is all of the women in the family are like really, really powerful krakens, but all the men are just kind of like useless disaster characters. And so the uncle is just like a second generation girl failure kind of vibe. This gives me the same thing where it's just like kind of in the himbo pantheon. It's just kind of, you know, happy to be here. It's just kind of I'm just happy to exist.
Yeah, so this is Doug Campbell. He's we're getting into the MonsterCon specific ones. So he is a slime, and I would put him as himbo adjacent. He's not exactly stupid. He's more of just like very much like soft boy nerd is how I would put him. Where like that's his thing, is he's really into his series and certain games and stuff like that. But he's also like the big softy of the group. He ended up being one of my favorites as someone who is a fan of big boys.
So his outfit is very much I am at the beach today. Is that because he is cosplaying something? Is that
So
how
there's like a
MonsterCon
ton of
works?
outfits. Yeah, there's a ton of outfits in MonsterCon.
Right.
There's like he has like a volunteer outfit. He has like a sleep and like a casual outfit. I think this is just sort of like because it's like a summer convention, so this is just sort of like his casual look. I've like definitely seen guys at conventions who dress exactly like this.
Yeah, fair enough. It's really close to the Zelda tee and cargo shorts.
Yeah, it's like it's basically a variant of that, like the like loose all over print, the shorts and the sandals.
Yeah. This is unfortunately a pass from me. I mean, if you had an entirely gelatinous body, you could choose whatever silhouette you wanted, and this is very much the like, um, lazy and comfortable. Not like derogatively lazy, but like this is just me doing the thing that is comfortable. Um, but like the upside is that you could fill any container. You could make yourself be any shape and be anything. So being solidly one gender seems like a strange choice to me. A person that writes uh, gender bendery fiction, it seems like a weird box to put oneself into.
A hard smash for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I could easily look at this and go, yeah, this is Neko coded. Okay, then we've got our next one. This is another demon boy archetype, but the picture that I found is he's like wearing a mimic. So is this also a con costume?
No, he is a mimic.
He is a mimic. Okay, that makes much more sense. Because he's got the like line of teeth along the collarbone and shoulder, which I think fits really nicely as like a way to continue the design of the thing, because it would be really easy to just look at it like a pair of pants, like the actual mimic itself is a pair of pants. but I think this fits really well. I have follow-up questions about how his dick is supposed to function. I don't know. We can get into another time. He's got a very cute face. I think the like the way that his more human parts are designed is like, because the way that the mimic functions is that you believe it is something else and that has value, and then your greed is the thing that punishes you. You open it, it gives an opportunity for the mimic to eat and kill you, and this character doesn't feel like it's portraying that same vibe. Unless if it's like an I can fix him type thing, where it's like you're supposed to think that you can fix him, and then once you're in the relationship, you're trapped forever, and then he eats you and you die. But yeah, that's my guess.
Yeah, you've got the part where he's playing against his sort of like designated species. So his whole gimmick is that even though he has the power to shapeshift, he actually prefers cosplaying and like hand making cosplays and stuff like that, because he sees shapeshifting as like cheating or like the easy way out. So his whole gimmick throughout the game is he has like, no joke, like 20 different sprites of like different cosplays based on like the context of the scene, ranging from like magical girls to like Phoenix Wright to like sort of samurai type characters and things like that. But he's very much more of like I don't know, like chaos gremlin, where he just is like well-meaning and lovable, but causes a lot of problems. He's also voiced by Brandon Rogers, who is the main character in Hell of a Boss. So he kind of has like this very chaotic, comedic energy.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I feel that. I don't know. I think he's cute. I think it's probably a smash.
I would smash. We can figure out the dick stuff.
Yeah, but I was getting to my follow-up question there, where it's like, upon understanding exactly how the treasure chest part of it is supposed to work, but if you can just shapeshift anyway, I think it's just hand wavy. It's just like, yeah, whatever. Don't worry about this thing. Okay, and then we have my last one, which is the clown girl. Obviously, this is like a Pinkie Pie type character, incredibly chaotic and bubbly in energy and really, really fast paced. And I guess that's I don't know what extra you could play, because the whole point of the clown design is your entire personality is painted on you, and the outfit design is supposed to communicate a lot about what kind of a clown you are. Like, you look at a horror clown and you go, yes, that's scary. But this is much more of a like, it also kind of has the King's Jester motif to it as well. So it feels like she's definitely playing more for comedy, because there's lots of different types of clowns. I'm now realizing a thing that I know. But I think she's very cutesy, actually. I think it does play really well for cute. How am I doing so far?
Pretty good. So this is April 1st, which is an amazing clown name. And so her gimmick is that she is like a clown Twitch streamer, basically. So she's also like she's signed up in an idol style contract where she needs to be on brand at all times and has to suppress all of her unseemly emotions. And so she does that by basically, she has these balloon animals that represent all the emotions she isn't allowed to express, such as like anger or like sarcasm or horny, and they will basically pop up and say all the things that she is thinking like periodically throughout the game. So I would describe her like Pinkie Pie. I think is actually a pretty good comparison, where like on the surface she's very like, haha, I'm so cute, but there's definitely something a little fucked up about her. It's just deep down and hidden.
Yeah, I think she does play for cute. I don't know, like the balloon animals gag, I think is something that would definitely get me for sure. This is an easy smash. We love Clussy here on the Sexy Business Podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Smash.
But that's our last character. We have gone over time. We always go over time when it comes to doing a character list. But it's kind of one of our classic content pieces, right? Is to have a look at character design from different series and talk about character design and stuff like that. Because when we're existing in both a 2D art space, which is where the majority of the games that we interact with are, but also a post-AI art slop hellscape, it is really interesting to look at why specific things are communicated in character design. Back in the day, if something was too tropey, you would get slandered for it because they go, oh yeah, this is, just the classic thing. There's no original thing here. You've just ripped off something entirely. And looking at something like Scott Howell, right, where if he didn't have any of the werewolf parts, you go, this is just the average football character, right? And adding the monster aspects still isn't that crazy because, like, isn't it? I can't remember if it's an American Werewolf in London or whatever, but like, literally, isn't that Wolf Boy character the football guy anyway, right? So it's not like a super big reach, but I feel like they do a really good job of communicating the different things about the character. And obviously, as they get deeper into the bucket and pull out some of the other cool and interesting ones, you do get some kind of interesting plays with it. Like, I think Zoe is a really interesting way of putting it together, and obviously I have some personal favorites amongst the list. And if you look at the list of characters and you go, yeah, I want to fuck that guy, then they've kind of succeeded, right? A thing that AI slop art has a lot more of a harder time doing, and you see that the AI slop games that have succeeded have characters that don't have any unique distinguishing features. Like we looked at Femboy Roommate with a character, their distinguishing features are they just have messy black hair and like no other thing is unique to them. And so to have something like this monster series, it really is a visual feast in comparison. There's lots of cool outfits, there's lots of personality in the pose, and you could see that I could kind of guess what the character would look like, just, how they would act and what kind of, character trope that they're supposed to inhabit just by looking at it, which is a really good example of communicative art and design. So I think the Monster series is kind of a masterclass when it comes to art and design, especially because the characters are so important to it. And just on that alone, me, a person who hasn't played it, knows that this is something worth looking at and checking out and, going and having. I mean, personally, it's kind of my archetype. I really love cryptid media. A thing that we're going to do a deep dive in a later episode because THM's announced their most recent game, which is cryptid media. We're going to see some Monster Girl Future content coming later this year. It's a long shot thing. Don't worry about it. We'll talk about it later. But for now, that's it. We got to talk about Monster Girls, a thing that we all know and love. And, doing our service as the currently banned on YouTube Sexy Business podcast, doing our best to figure out how this episode is going to come across to you. But to keep us in the game, you have to hit the like button. You have to hit the subscribe button. You have to stay locked in, because whether or not we have a strike or not, you will have no idea whether or not our videos are coming out unless if you have all the notifications turned on. So stick around. We definitely have some cool stuff coming up, and maybe we'll be delivering some more Monster Girls directly to your inbox next time on the Sexy Business Podcast.